Hello everybody, it is Monday the 21st of November. I want to talk about Christ consciousness. I've been listening to a lot to John St. Julian Baba Vanayama, and he's not the only one who's on that path, by no means. It's just that through listening again to what he was saying, something came into focus for me. And again, he served kind of as a nemesis, which is a good thing. A good nemesis is very helpful. First of all, I want to talk about this thing about fasting and meditation and entering the field of unified consciousness. Which again, so many do. And yes, the ego does step out of the way. It is taking the ego out of the way to enter into that field. But then they describe it as, a knowledge that you gain there. And that is that the knowledge is, that suffering is not real. This world is not real. And really the whole thing is a bit pointless. The truth is out there. Now, if you detangle from your energy, from everything else, you separate from everything else, then the only thing that you have knowledge of is yourself. And again, that's what they're saying. Then you know your true self. But then if you look back on life, and you say, suffering is not real. No, you know yourself. For yourself, suffering is no longer real. It is for yourself that it seems like an illusion. It is you that has just become an illusion. And it is you that has just become completely pointless. It's not the world, it's you, because the only thing you have knowledge of at that moment is you. It is you that is pointless. Where your existence no longer serves a purpose. You've become pointless. Now I can see being in that state as a resting place. Yes, I can see that might be helpful. Because even players in a game, they go onto the bench now and then to recuperate. They leave the game to sit on the bench. But that is what you're doing. You're sitting on the bench. And it's not the game that has become pointless. It is you who is no longer a point in the game. You're no longer a point of attention. Right, but I wanted to talk about Christ consciousness and really that we keep being driven back under the law. And that is what I heard when I listened to John. And really see what Jesus actually taught. Well, first of all, he did not teach, sit somewhere with a silly grin on your face and go on. And that is not what the disciples did. They were not sitting around in various places in meditation. They actually did things. So what John said is, in this state, if you detach from yourself, that you connect with something, again, greater than yourself, because you do not know what to do in this world. So you connect to something greater than yourself that knows. And that is the old God. That is the law. That is the one that is omnipresent and omnipotent, and he tells people what to do. Yeah? For myself, I know nothing. And as said, Jesus was on two rails. That teaching was in there. He was still attached to the law. And it was the law that drove him to the cross. because there was the one that had the greater plan for all. And, and it served him that Jesus would go to the cross. That greater consciousness. And it was wrong. Because the knowledge that was given was to serve life. And the destruction of life does not serve life. And that is why at the cross, the Christ consciousness had left him, had deserted him. The other one was still there and saying, well done. No fault in what you just did. It serves me. But the Christ consciousness was no longer with him. And there is where Jesus really created, in a way, it's not creating a new God, but it is creating a new possibility of what is in the field. And elevating that, again, above everything else. Making it God. And what he saw was the possibility in the field that it would be the giver, that it creates the form, therefore he is inside of you, he is you, you are him, you're made of him, that he gives and sustains all his forms, gives to and sustains all his forms, and that is without judgment. He does not judge the form or what it needs. And that we can ask, and that is the most important thing, and that is where we are going out from underneath the law. That is out from underneath the overall planning thing that knows everything and tells you what to do, to where we become the judges of what it is we're asking for. And that is where he said, you are free. This will set you free, because you become the judge. And out of that, again, a different world should come out of that, which is not planned by a global brain, but where every little part does according to what it knows it needs and what it knows to be right, and that the whole will be created out of every little part doing that. And of course connecting to their neighbor, and their neighbor connecting to the next neighbor and to the next neighbor. Now, in Christ consciousness, you know, and that is the bit that we need to get to, you know that whatever you ask for in prayer, know that you have received it and that it will be yours. That is what we need to know. That's the first thing. That needs to be acknowledged. The Father that we see, the God that we see, is the giver and the sustainer of life. And whatsoever we ask for, if we know that, and it actually happens around us, then we are living in Christ consciousness, and we're living inside the reality that is created by Christ consciousness. Then the kingdom will have come. That world, it's not a kingdom because there is no ruler, no one that rules over all. So that world will have become a reality. It will have come from heaven to earth through us. And as I said, it is not a free-for-all, because we must become the image of the intention, of the desire of God. And his desire is, again, from the top, to sustain his forms and to give to the forms what they need without judgment. Then we must become the image of that. And that, again, sets the boundaries. There is a law. I mean, it's not a free-for-all. There is a law. The boundaries are set by that we must give what is good that we must receive what's good for ourselves, that we must give ask for in prayer what is good for somebody else, what will sustain somebody else's life, what will enhance their life. And again, there we must be of sound judgment. It is not give to everybody what they want, because quite often we want things that are not good for us, and those around us want things that are not good for us, for them. So it's not that there is no judgment, there is a judgment. But since you are the judge, you are the one that is asking, which means you need to know what it is you're giving to. You need to know what is best for your children, for your friends, for your neighbors. You must know them in order to judge whether what they're asking for is actually good for them, or whether you should become the portal for that, for them to receive that. As I said, we don't always get it right. We won't. I mean, we must endeavor to know what is around us in order to become in order for the correct thing to come through us into this world. But we don't always get it right. Now, the beauty about this way of doing it is that every small part is only doing small things. And that means if it leads to mistakes, they will hopefully be small mistakes. Whereas where you go with a global consciousness, that the one, if he makes a mistake, that thing is going global. Which is pretty much, again, the reality that we're in. Whatever mistakes they're making, and they're making plenty at the moment, is having global impacts. It's impacting on all. And they're not wise. And the other thing is that they are in a position where they cannot know. They think they know, but they can't. Because really you would need to be omnipresent and omnipotent to know what your commandment, what the impact of that would be on every part in the entire world. And you can't do that. So there is a difference. And if you say, I'm in Christ consciousness, and saying, I connect to something greater than myself that tells me what to do, no, then you are not in Christ consciousness. You are back under the law. You are not what Jesus has taught. Jesus has taught that you are the judge, that you are the thing that asks according to your knowing, and that you ask in order to serve something else. And I said you need to know what it is you're giving to in order to do it correctly. But that way we gain a knowledge of this world, because we need to know in order to be a proper functioning part in that system. And no, Christ consciousness is definitely not out there. Out there, as I said, you are pointless. It is here where you feel the pain, where you feel the suffering, where you can see things going wrong. That should form your judgment of how to change it. And then we must know that we will receive, that we have received. But I say, that is the big ask. That is the big ask, to believe that you're going to be given. And that is a terribly big ask. And that you're being given according to your own judgment, that is even a bigger ask. Because they say the ego is a trap. No, the ego is running the wrong program. The ego is running the program of I am nothing and I need to be told, because I know nothing. It is not the death of the ego, it's reprogramming the ego to see itself differently and to run a different program. To see yourself as the judge and as the one that receives and as the one that is giving to others, but only as far as you can see, only as far as you know the consequences, and that every other part shall do the same thing. And know that life is sacred. All life, not just human life. Anyway, I think I leave it at that for today, and I talk to you again soon. Bye.